Hello and welcome back to the channel if you already are a part of the community. And if you aren't, then make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a new weekly video. My name is Sophia, and on this channel we talk all about manifestation, spirituality, astrology, and all the good things that help you become the happiest, healthiest, and most powerful version of yourself. So let's dive into today's video. Today we're going to talk about ending your good girl era. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about because I think, one, it is still very relevant, and two, I think it is so important for every woman on this planet to really step into their power and to stop people pleasing, because this good girl is so deeply ingrained in us. I know that it was for me as well. Like, my biggest problem with becoming more confident and speaking up for myself and becoming more, sharing my opinion more was actually because I was so afraid of stepping on other people's toes, of making other people feel uncomfortable. And now I couldn't care less. Like, I love talking about my views on the world, about my view on women, and the way that I see things, and I want the world to change. And I think it is actually so powerful and so beautiful, because I believe if we were all more comfortable and confident in sharing that, we would actually create more change. We would start new conversations, and it would be so much more powerful. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And first, I want you to understand what it even means to be a good girl. For me, this was really this journey of abandoning myself, where I was too shy and too insecure to step up for myself, and especially making other people's emotions more important than your own, and making other people's comfort more important than your own. So you know that you're in your good girl phase if you're still thinking that other people are worth more than yourself. If you feel like the validation of other people telling you that you're nice and that you're easy to get along with is worth more than your happiness. And if you think that making other people comfortable is actually, something to be proud of. Yes, I think it is beautiful to be kind and to be a warm person and to be inviting to other people. And I think it is very important to be respectful and loving to other people, but especially to ourselves, because that's what we get trained out of and conditioned out of as women. We lose our connection to ourselves, to our own desires, to our own opinion. And that is something that I want to cultivate with you today, and for you to understand that you don't need to be a good girl to be a good person and to be somebody who is really loving and making a positive impact in this world. Because the good girl is all about what you're missing out on, is all about what parts of yourself that you're losing to make other people happy. And that's what I want you to stop today. And let me just tell you, if I, who is the biggest people pleaser with severe social anxiety, could do it, then you can do as well. But I know that this sounds very hard, especially at the beginning, because you're so used to doing it. And this takes really conscious effort and practice, because I can still remember, like, for me, my typical thing was I was always smiling at people. Like, you would see me go, like, my smile was plastered on. If I was outside in the world, I was just like this. But the problem was that I tried to stop people from becoming rude or confronting me or getting any kind of, conflict. I tried to suppress that and try to smooth that out by being overly nice. And I think that is when the problem begins, because yes, it is beautiful to treat people loving and kind, but the problem starts when you think that you can become even nicer so people stop being rude to you, or people stop confronting you about things, or you can smooth out a conflict by just being even more nice. And that is truly when the problem starts, because you can actually just really resolve a conflict by standing up for yourself, by being clear and direct, and by finding common ground and just being respectful with each other, but not losing that respect for yourself. And I think that is the biggest problem with this good girl syndrome, because you're so used to making other people feel comfortable, and you're so used to suppressing your own desires, your own emotions, and your own opinion. And that is really the first big step. I remember this really started for me because I think I had some problem with like something in my mouth, and I couldn't smile as much anymore because it hurt. So I needed to stop smiling, and I had this neutral face all the time. And that was so weird for me going outside, because I was just so used to smiling at people and just being like, see, I'm nice. Treat me nice. Like, treat me good. I'm a good person. You see this, you see the smile, but I couldn't do it anymore. And it felt like the rudest person on the planet, when most people probably didn't even care. But that is where you see this happening, and that is why it is very important to become more conscious. Like, this journey starts with you becoming more conscious and seeing where you abandon yourself just for people to really accept you, or for people to be nice to you, and you're not doing it because you want to. It is just something you do automatically. And I think that is the first step to really become more conscious and get to know who you are and your motivation behind things that you're doing. So the first step is really connecting to yourself and having time to yourself. I started going on dates with myself. I started to go to the cinema. I started traveling alone. I started going to restaurants alone, and just being in my own energy and not feeling like I owe anybody anything. Even when I was there, I was respectful and nice to the servers, but I stopped being so overly accommodating. I think that is the biggest problem when it comes to your good girl syndrome, because you're so accommodating to people. You want everybody to feel good, but you don't even know what makes you even feel good. So that's the first step, and really spend time with yourself. Go on walks alone, go outside alone, go to restaurants alone, go to the cinema alone. And at first it feels really weird, because you're like, oh my god, I think everybody's looking at me, everybody's judging me because this girl is sitting here alone when nobody actually cares. But that is the first step, spending time with yourself and asking yourself, what makes me feel comfortable? What makes me uncomfortable? And getting more conscious of the way that you behave in daily interactions. Are you saying this because you actually feel that way? Or are you saying this because you want to be nice and you want to make the other person feel good? Get to know your motivation behind things, connect to yourself more, spend more time with yourself, and especially important is regulating your nervous system. I think that is one of the keys for everything. That's why I've included it in my Rebelicious membership, because I think your nervous system and regulating that is so important in your social interactions. Because when you are out of control and you are so anxiety driven, that makes it really hard to stand up for yourself. So that's why I would always say, regulate your nervous system by doing breath work, tapping, whatever works for you and whatever makes you feel good. I have all of these as resources, like I said, in my Rebelicious membership. But regulate your nervous system daily, so you're in a space where you can be present with yourself and you can actually feel your body and you can actually feel yourself. This is very important. As someone who is a people pleaser and who wants to be the good girl all the time, you need to spend one time by yourself. So like I said, do things with yourself and just yourself. Find out what you like, what do you think is fun, what makes you feel good, and then regulate your nervous system and be present with yourself. So taking care of your body and your emotional state by journaling and doing all of these nervous system regulation exercises is going to be very good, because one, you are going to be in a space where you're alone with yourself, so you don't need to perform for anybody, and at the same time you're getting more in touch with who you are. And that is what this journey is truly all about. It is about getting more in touch with who you are. So ask yourself more often, do I like this or don't I like this? What don't I like about this? Like, ask yourself more often, especially in the things that you do. If you start following people because your friends are following them on social media, or you're buying that dress because your mom told you look good, reconsider and get curious about your motivation behind things. And that includes, stop asking other people for their opinion. And if people want to give their opinion, just ask them to stop for a while, because this is one of the biggest things that really helps. Because once you stop hearing the opinion of other people constantly, you start to hear your own. You start to understand what your own opinion is about things. So stop asking the people around you what they think about your dress, what they think about your relationship, what they think about blah 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 blah. Instead, Really sit down with yourself. Make conscious effort to have time to yourself every single day. And whether that's like sitting there doing a tapping, doing a nervous system regulation exercise, or just really sitting there looking, like for me, I'm looking at the ocean, just contemplating life, being with yourself, listening to your own thoughts, because especially as a people pleaser, as that good girl, you want to know what other people want from you, and you want to become what other people want from you. So you're so focused on doing that you're constantly like consuming people's opinion, whether that's through social media, books, your friends, society, family, like it doesn't matter. But you will probably notice once you go on this journey how often you are trying to gauge what other people like about you or what other people like about others. So maybe seeing your friend saying, oh my god, that girl, like I loved her outfit, and you think maybe I should wear that outfit. Or you see someone saying this person was so nice because they did this, and now you feel like you need to do all of these things. So trying to copy someone else and trying to copy someone else's personality or style is that good girl, because you think you're not interesting enough yourself. You think that you're not good enough yourself. So that's why you need to take the focus away from the outside, and you need to put the focus on you. This is a you lifetime. And I think that is one of the biggest problems when it comes to that good girl syndrome, because we're so used to making everybody else our focus. We're so used to making that perfect version of ourselves as well, this big focus. And that's why I always say, when it comes to manifesting your dream life, you need to start with one, decentering men and really leaving behind the good girl. And this plays into your self-concept, because when we talk about manifesting, creating your dream life, this is about knowing that you're worthy, that you can do anything that you want, that your desires are meant for you. And when you want to get into that state, and when you want to create this knowing inside of yourself, that means you need to leave behind the opinion of other people, and you need to leave behind the desire to be liked by everyone, because probably what you're trying to manifest is something that other people have a lot of opinions on. Maybe the way that you want to dress, maybe the way you want to live, maybe the car that you want to drive. People have their opinion, and if you let that derail you, then you're going to end up with a life that you don't truly love. And I think that is the biggest waste of your time and of your life, because this life is about you. The focus should be on you, and that's what we forget, because the subconscious programming runs so deep. You might not even realize it. You might not even realize in how many instances in your life you're putting other people before you, or where you're constantly asking other people for their opinion. And I still remember when I started to change my style and the way that I dressed and everything, I didn't even think that I was that influenced by other people around me. But then when I started to really dive deeper in the way that I wanted to dress, and it was more outgoing and different than other people, I was like, oh my god, I'm actually afraid of what other people might think about me. Because at the time I was the typical, wearing jeans and a t-shirt or a tight dress. Like I was always in that very basic clothing. And then I was like, okay, I want to experiment with colors and patterns and everything. And I was like, oh my god, people are gonna look. And it started to sink in. But before, I was like, I don't even think it's that bad. But once you start to question your decisions, you will see that this runs through every part of your life. The way you dress, the way that you speak, the way that you decide things even. Or maybe even your purpose is run by being a good girl, because you want to be a good girl for your parents, or you want to be a good girl for your friends. You want to be seen as the person who is doing everything right. And when you're trying to do everything right, you're actually doing the things wrong for you, because you're not measuring them based on what your desires and your wish for life is actually, because instead you're basing them on what other people want from you and what their desire and wish is for your life. And while I think it is beautiful that people wish you good things, and it is nice to listen to them, if you are in your people pleaser era and you're in your good girl era and you want to get out of that, like I said, spend time with yourself, regulate your nervous system, question your decisions, stop asking other people for their opinion, and definitely work on your self-confidence. concept. You can do that through mirror work or self-talk rampages like the ones I have in the Rebelicious membership, because you really want to reprogram your subconscious mind to believe new things about yourself, because the neural pathways that you've traveled down your whole life were just like, I'm doing what they want from me, I'm doing what they want from me, so I'm doing the right thing. And like I said, you're abandoning yourself, and nothing is worse than abandoning yourself, because at least when you make a decision, you're not happy about the decision, you know that you made the decision. But when you let your life be run by other people and their opinion, you're going to stand there and be like, I don't even know how I got here. And that's not what I want from you. So just know that this is a journey, that this takes time and practice and being really conscious and being really there and present, and just also doing shadow work is really healthy and helpful as well. I will link my shadow work book as well in the comments and the description, because I think that was one of the biggest starts for me, because I realized so many things about myself. I understood so many things about myself, and that helped me be gentle on myself. And that's what I want for you on this journey, to not be hard on yourself or think that you're doing something wrong or that you need to shame yourself for this, because I think that was also one of the biggest problems for me. I was so ashamed that I was so driven by other people. Like, I was so ashamed that I craved validation. I felt ashamed because I craved validation of other people. And that is something that you just need to be gentle about, and that you need to have compassion to yourself, like for yourself, because being compassionate and loving to yourself is the best thing that you can do, because you're doing it constantly for other people. You're constantly being lenient with other people. You're constantly being compassionate with them, but you're not giving yourself the same grace and compassion. So start with understanding where this might come from, what has brought this into your life through shadow work and inner child healing, and also just be gentle with yourself, and don't start this inner war or this inner critic, saying you're not doing this right, or why you're still trying to please everybody. Yes, you want to get out of that, but just be gentle, because the best way to get out of that is by forming a good connection to yourself. And the only way to really create a deeper and meaningful connection to yourself is by honoring yourself, honoring your needs, and being gentle. You're not going to create a deeper and meaningful connection to yourself by being hard on yourself and constantly criticizing yourself. And how you get out of that criticizing mode, like I said, self-concept work, inner child healing, shadow work, and nervous system regulation. You can even regulate your nervous system by intuitive movement, dancing, somatic exercises. There's so many ways to regulate your nervous system, but this really means that you need to invest time into yourself. And another thing that is really helpful is understanding what your values and boundaries are. And that really started for me. I began doing that in the dating side of my world. Like, I was at first beginning to understand boundaries by setting them in a dating context. So for me, that meant I didn't want men to kiss me on the first date. Like, that was a clear no for me, my hard line. And I stopped doing that because the first dates that I went on when I was like 18, I was like, okay, all people talk about, being this free hot girl summer, like having fun. So I was like, okay, I will just go along with it because this guy thinks I'm beautiful or thinks that I'm hot, so he wants to kiss me. I'll just do it because, I'll do it. And I was run by this conditioning that if you're a feminist and that if you're a free woman, you can do what you want and you can go around kissing people or sleeping with them, and that is fine, you can do that. But it was not something that I felt good about or felt comfortable with. But I had this ingrained into my head, that idea. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'll just go along with it. I'll have my hot girl summer and feel cute and free and sexy, when I didn't actually feel like that, because I was acting against my own comfort, against my own desires. And I realized I was just kissing these men because I was like, okay, they want to do it, I'll do it. Like, I'll just go along with it. And I think that was my biggest realization for me personally. And then after I realized I was doing the same thing in friendships. I felt uncomfortable with things, I didn't like certain things, and I never said anything. So that's what I started to change. I started to get conscious and really more aware of my day-to-day life, and where I didn't feel comfortable with things but felt like I needed to because society has told me that, media has told me that, my friends have told me I needed to be comfortable with that, then I made that switch and I understood my own values and my own boundaries. And I think that is definitely the biggest part of ending your good girl era, is knowing your boundaries and knowing your values. And that starts by exploring and understanding that when you make a mistake or you act against those values or those boundaries, that is again not something to shame yourself for, but just something to be aware of and be like, okay, now I know that just doesn't feel good and I will do it differently next time. So let this just be a journey, and enjoy this journey to becoming your most confident and powerful and deeply secure self. Like, just enjoy and be loving on this whole path, because that is the only way that the girl inside will feel comfortable to become the powerful woman that you're truly meant to be. So enjoy, and I will see you next time. Bye.